I was living this lifestyle right here. Yeah. Is that the same shirt? Actually, that is the same shirt. That's you.
Oh my God, it happened. He caught it. He caught can't read roomitis.
Last night, Mom dressed up as Catwoman and she sat on Dad's chest and she was scratching him and then she went, yeah.
We could have homes on separate coasts, go dive in Greece with squids. Could have been so bleeping rich, but instead we had kids. They won't smile for a photo, they won't eat the food we choose. That's why we're heading to the parents' lounge to drown ourselves in booze. Every day we're more exhausted, we haven't slept in years. They hit me in the nuts so bad, my eyes filled up with tears. And yes, we'd like to fake our death and go off of the grids, but the truth is we are softies and we truly love our kids. So join us every Tuesday night to laugh at all our pain. Evening in the parents' lounge is the cure to staying sane.
Oh, am I muted? Is it him?
Voice of reason, Kate Mulligan.
Oh, hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Just walked in the house. Tried to throw food at a child. I'm just
Jason's muted still, honey.
Yeah. It's about as parenting as you can get over here right now. And then my wife called because apparently my other daughter was in a fight or something. And I was like, I'm on a show. And she goes, okay, but there's some I go, oh, okay. It's still going to be a problem in an hour. It's not gonna
Like
be
what kind of fight? Like a verbal or a physical?
I know.
Apparently somebody hit somebody. I don't know what's happening. We'll have to get to it. But listen, we have
straight up Kayla rage emerges.
There it is.
Your straight up Kayla rage emerges.
There it is.
Well, it's weird because unless she was drunk. If she's drunk in fourth grade, then yeah, there's going to be a fight. But like sober, not a lot of Kayla fights. We'll see. We have a fantastic guest tonight.
The best.
I'm so glad he's here too because Claire on the drive back from soccer just now asked me questions that I'm sure Pluto and Aristotle pondered back in the day. You know those when you're driving from the back seat, your daughter, your 7-year-old just goes, "Why are we all here?" And I was like, "What do you mean in this car?" She goes, "No, on Earth. What are we doing here?" And then she goes, "How long is this gonna last?" And I was
wow.
I go, honestly, Claire, that's a really great question.
These are all great questions.
It's so weird when a 7-year-old starts to get philosophical on you. And
my 4-year-old's obsessed with my death. He's like, I'm going to miss you when you die. And I was like, okay, cool.
She said something about when
I'd watch that one. I'd watch that one.
She said something about what if you died when I turned 10? She's 7, by the way. I was like, oh, dude, do I need to get my affairs in order? Do you know something I don't? Did the tests come in on? I don't know what's happening.
It feels a little creepy, right? It feels a little like.
And it's always the youngest one that's asking.
It's always the youngest one.
Always. But the thing that made me laugh the most is that our guest tonight I think he might have a few of the answers to this.
Thank God.
I think
Come on, Bill.
He's one of the funniest cats I know. I toured with him back in the day. He's from the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, Bait Shop, he had a show.
With the Stars.
He had a show called the Bill Engvall Show. I think that pretty much says it all.
Which one was he?
Yeah, who did he play?
I believe he played Bill, but we'll ask him when he comes up. One of my oldest friends. I love him so much. Please welcome Mr. Bill Engvall.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, everybody. So I was listening to the conversation about death. And it reminded me of one time when my daughter said to us, and by the way, she was in college, said, so when do we get our inheritance? And I said, well, honey, when Mom and I die. And she kind of looked at me and I said, don't even go there.
She was like, I got bills. I need a date. I need a day and time.
And I said, by the way your mom likes to travel, there's not going to be a whole lot.
That's right. That's right.
So you might want to go ahead and get that job. And I don't know what kind of job you can get with a French lit degree, but hey, there's something out there.
I always say if we won a $500 million lottery, my wife would find a way to spend $501 million. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh, wives are the worst.
The worst.
Because after a while, you just go, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm already there, Bill.
Get it. Go ahead and get it.
You guys failed to marry me, though, and I do mean fail. Each of you is a failure for failing to marry. No, I grew up in the Midwest. We clipped coupons. I am that person that I honestly strategize what I'm going to get. Like I knew I wanted a new thing to organize the shoes in our front hallway. I'm sick of looking at them, and so I thought, okay, I can use my points for a Wayfair gift card, and so that's what I did. I got all of my points and I got a Wayfair gift card so that there would be nothing out of pocket when I bought the shoe rack in the front hall. I don't know what it's, I guess, I'm cheap. That's what it is. I'm cheap.
Okay. I got to tell you my Wayfair story. So we bought a bed from them.
Okay.
For our guests to put in the guest room. And it shows up and it's kind of like IKEA. You got to put it together. And so they sent me 2 of the exact same bed frames, slats, and half the little holes where the bolts go into were missing. So I called them and I said, hey, this bed, you can't, it's impossible to put together. Mathematically, you cannot put this bed together.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we'll just send you another one. And I said, well, what do I do with this one? She goes, I don't know, throw it out. I mean, it's like, they don't want to deal with you shipping it back. They know it's a piece of shit. It's like they just don't want to deal with it anymore. And
it's easier than shipping you 2 bolts is really what they're telling you. They're like, look, I'd have to mail it. We'll send you a whole new bed.
No, they were going to have to send him a Dremel because they didn't even have the holes in the frame.
Right,
That's what he's saying.
Right.
Yeah. So is that bed behind you there, Kate? It's empty.
Hey, yeah, thank goodness.
She's on the lam.
The other person that's in that bed normally, you don't want to see him right now.
You look like you're like being held captive in an underground bunker where it's just
do?
you. Yeah.
You guys, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not being held captive.
Yeah, they look at a Kate going, "Don't look out the window. Just shut all the shades." And
Bill, one of our fans says, "Here's your sign." Oh my God, it's Bill Engvall, huge fan.
Yeah, thank you. That's I have to tell you, I don't know if it's my age now or whatever, but when I look back over the 42 years I've been doing this, it always amazes me, and I'm just honored and humbled by it that people reach out and say, "Hey, I've been following you forever," and we love your stand up and all this. And the whole time I'm thinking, I could have written such better stuff, But as my good friend Larry the Cable Guy always said, poop and fart sells, so it's like,
yeah.
I watch some of these young guys like Nate Bargatze and these guys, and they're writing this funny, hip stuff. And I'm like, boy, I really lowered the bar a lot on this. It's just like,
that's not true at all. I think the bar was at a different place. And I also think audiences were at a different place. And
I do too. I have a question for the 3 of you, because somebody asked me this in an interview recently, and when you do a lot of interviews, generally, you get the same stuff. Where are you wearing, boxers or briefs? It's like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? But the guy said, let me ask you, he goes, where do you think comedy's going? And I said, that's a great question, because comedy used to be the release valve, and now it seems like it's become the igniter. It just seems like people go to shows hoping to find something that they can gripe about or yell about or whatever. And I was telling the guy, I said, for guys like me that are just middle of the road, I don't think it's going to change that much. But I can see guys like Bill Burr, the more controversial guys, I could see comedy almost going back underground, like in the little jazz clubs and stuff. Because I don't know what's happened. There's been a shift. And that was part of the impetus for my retirement was it just seems like people are so, I don't know, angry or I don't know what the word is, but it used to be that comedy was the thing that relieved that.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of become like, wow, can I say this anymore? It's almost like dating. It's like, okay, what's okay, what's not okay. It's like almost like you got to give the audience your set list and goes, anybody going to be offended by any of this? And I hope it doesn't, but it really has struck me as that. And the funny thing is we need it more than ever right now, but yet you're walking on eggshells kind of, it's like, and I hope that it changes. I hope it goes back, but it's even now, when I write stuff, like I wrote a thing recently about that it's funny in your 20s and 30s, you talk about girls, you talk about fast cars. Then you get in your 40s, you talk about sports and politics. And then you get to 65 like I am, and all your conversations are about medical issues. And, and if you get a bunch of guys my age around talking, we're like listening to the witnesses at the Johnny Depp trial. We're like, hey, like, wait, he said you couldn't have burritos. Why? What was up with that? Because I love burritos. What? Like, oh, well, I had a colonoscopy, and then somebody, oh, well, I had gout. I'm like, oh my God, listen to us.
I gotta tell you, I must be ahead of my time because I just am working on a bit now. Because the other day I went to a doctor to have a little operation done on my toe, and that man numbed me up so good. And I gotta tell you, I'm a woman in her 40s. I don't want a man that makes me feel anything. I want a man that makes me feel nothing. And like that's where I'm at. Is I'm like, did you get me numb?
I tell you, I have a guy, he's actually my next door neighbor I don't know the technical name, but he's the guy who gives you the colonoscopies and stuff.
Yeah.
So he set me up an appointment and I went in and they gave me some propofol.
Yes.
They wheeled me into this other room. The lights were dim and Allman Brothers was playing. And I looked at him, I said, you can do whatever you want to me, man. I really don't care at this point.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, coming out of that propofol, the first thing I said to my doctor was, I get it, Michael Jackson. I get it.
I get it, totally. And by the way, can I get some to go?
Can I get a doggy bag with this?
He was probably a rambling man, Bill. Was he a rambling man all over your body?
That was it. Whipping post, baby.
And I believe the term is, what's funny, Bill? I was going to say tied to the whipping post, and then I was like, I'll get canceled.
You will get canceled. You can't say it anymore.
Like that.
No, and that's what I mean. It's like,
I know. It's just a song by the Allman Brothers.
Yeah, it's like, people like saying, oh, well, I had gout. And somebody goes, oh, well, my dad had to have his foot amputated. Thanks for bringing it up. Like, oh, God, I give up. I just give up.
Some guy quoted a movie the other day. The guy from Apple, like the head of Apple, said something that was kind of offensive. He's like, it's a quote from like a John Hughes movie from like 1986. And people are like, we don't care. You can't say it. You're canceled.
Doesn't matter.
Bill, is that why you retired? You're like, it was like sort of how like a principal gets an option. They're like, you can either retire or we're going to fire you. You were like, I either have to retire or I'm going to be canceled.
That's a great question. Honestly, the reason I decided to go into retirement from the road was I always said that I never wanted to do this job just for a check.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair to the fans. And we've all been to shows where the artists just kind of walk through it and you're like, okay.
They're counting time. They're like 12 minutes left.
Yeah, we got 2 more songs and we're out of here. And the other thing is, Kate, and I say this with all due humility, I've done everything I wanted to do.
Yeah, I love that.
I mean, I told my friend, he said, why are you retiring? I said, because I caught the brass ring. I mean, there's other than Bill Engvall on ice, and nobody wants to see that.
I don't know. Honestly.
I don't know. I would pay for that ticket, actually.
A shocking amount.
I mean, you knocked off Dancing with the Stars.
It's like,
yes.
Had your own show.
I don't want to.
You were never going to get canceled anyway. You're not that guy because I toured with you, and I always loved your act because it really did. And it's hard to do. I think, everyone's like, "Oh, you don't want to appeal to everybody." I'm like, "Yeah, we're all human. If you can get to a basic level of stuff we're all going through, that's the goal." And every bit of yours, like everybody was like, "I get it." Yes.
Well, Jamie, it's funny because I always live by this. We all do the same stuff. It's just with different accents,
I mean,
I don't care if you're from Boston or Savannah or LA. We've all done the same stuff, and especially with kids. One of my favorite, one of those moments in life that you just kind of feel like I came short on that one. My daughter was in high school, and she got invited to Leo DiCaprio's house for a party. Well, it wasn't like Leo called and said, "Hey, can you send your daughter over?" It was like a big party, and someone had got invited, and she was going to get a go. And she was but we had a rule in our house that if you went one place, if you changed locations, you had to call us and let us know that you'd changed locations.
Yeah.
So like if they were going to some girl's house and they say they were going to go to another girl's house, I said, you got to call me and let me know.
Yeah.
So she was going to this girl's house, and we went over there to pick her up, and she wasn't there. And I hit the ceiling. And of course, what it comes to find out was they were a block away at the Taco Bell. They went to get tacos. Mm. Well, I said, that's it. You can't go to Leo DiCaprio's house. Mm. And I stood by my guns, which I think as a parent sometimes is the hardest thing to do.
Yep.
But years later, and she was just decimated. And years later, I finally said, I called her one day at college, and I said, I got to tell you something. This has been bugging me. That whole thing with Leo DiCaprio, I was wrong on that one. And I think part of the thing with parenting is, for me at least, the best thing you can do is to be able to admit that you were wrong and let them know that. Let them know that you're human and that you're going to make mistakes. But our job is to try to keep you alive and, moving on through life. And sometimes that's not pretty, but to be able to tell your kids that you were wrong, I think not right there at the moment, it's like, you got to kind of stick by your guns. But, later, she told me she appreciated that I said, I'm a human. I'm going to make mistakes. And, it's all, and I think that's the hardest thing for parents to get hold of is it's okay to be wrong.
I gotta say, if she was in high school, she was right in his target age, though. So
yeah,
you probably did the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know what would have happened. But
I'm glad to hear that, though, because I'm wrong so often. Like, I just am failing across the board. So yeah. I am glad to hear that.
Well, it's interesting with kids. They want parameters.
Yes,
they won't say that, but they. I look at, I watch, and now I'm really going to sound like the old guy. I watch kids today, and I think there is no way in hell I'd have gotten away with talking to an adult like that.
No,
like when we were kids, it was yes sir, no sir. You looked them in the eye, you shook their hand. I've met kids now that they go, oh, this is our daughter.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, and it's like. I think sometimes, and this is a really fine line you walk as a parent, is that you have to set the rules, but you're gonna make mistakes, and that it's hard as a parent. I think one of the biggest issues I see with young parents today is they're trying to be their kid's best friend. Instead of being their parent. And now my kids are married. Both of them are married now. I can be their best friend. I can give them advice if they want it. But when they were young, like I hear these parents, oh, well, we only let them drink when they're at our house. I'm sorry. Is there not a red flag there to you that you just said, okay, it's okay for high school kids to drink at my house? And it's because these parents, I think, are so afraid that their kids are not going to like, your kids aren't going to like you anyway. until they get older. And, you know, I told my son one day, I said, you know, I hope that someday all I ask out of life is that one day you look at me and say, you know, Dad, you weren't as dumb as I thought. And he said, well, that ain't never going to happen. But I see it in his eyes now because he'll do stuff that I've done. You know, it's like, but it's okay not to be your kid's best friend.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna go to have
Snow
shots.
plows. That's the thing is now, and I read all these things about, you know, successful kids like Warren Buffett or wherever, they talk about how they raise their kids or something. And the problem nowadays is like my parents didn't snowplow like every obstacle out of my way. That's what they say.
Right.
That's what these people do. They make sure this kid has no obstacles in life. And the kid just goes from one event to the next and it's easy. And if there's a problem, we've solved this. It's like the kid has to learn to do this on their own. What are you doing? You got
and I think, Jamie, you make a very good point. Another thing is you walk a fine line of, we all want our kids to have a better life than we did.
Yes,
but
for sure.
My kids are never going to have a better life.
No.
I tell them that all the time. They're going to have to reset the bar because I had a great run. I mean, the last 7 years since the kids have been born has been a nightmare. But before that, I tore it up, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, but we walk that fine line of making it too easy for them.
Very much.
My
wife. Yeah, I think all of our wives.
My wife especially.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something right now. Gail was so amazing as a mom, and now she's doing it as a grandma. But she really kept a handle on. We always try to teach our kids that this business that I'm in is not real. This is not reality. You know, that we get paid this amount of money to show up and tell a fart joke. You know, it's like.
Well, you were on the road.
Doesn't happen.
She really was home alone with the kids, and you were on the road.
Yeah. She, you know, it was funny. She used to tell me whenever I would come off, whenever I came off the road, it was party time with Dad, and she would have to go. Okay, wait a minute, we can't do that. Yeah, I've been setting these, and I go, I know, but I'm only home for 4 days. I know you are, and you can have all the fun you want with them, but we're not staying up till 9:30 just because Daddy's home.
That's right.
They have to have kids have to have a schedule of a sense that, not where they can't do anything, but you can't just come in and, like she said, you can't come in and just throw the monkey wrench into the machine and then leave again. Because then I got to correct everything that you've just screwed up.
And Bill, I got to ask you a question, Bill. It occurred to me the other day that I have Los Angeles children. I wasn't a Los Angeles child. I was a suburbs of Chicago child. I know you didn't grow up in Los Angeles. I don't know where your wife Gail grew up, but how did you raise your kids here in LA?
Yeah, both my kids went to Miracosta High School.
Okay. Teach me everything. How do you? It's weird to know that our kids are. Even if we're not successful in the industry, they are part of the industry that's here, which is a very strange industry.
Well, I think, Kate, here's the problem that I've got it's kind of a two-pronged thing. First off, I don't think any big actor or actress should be able to have kids until they're retired.
Couldn't agree more.
Why?
I didn't see that coming.
Why do these people that go on movie sets think this? When Nancy and Travis and I were shooting my show, we used to, I got it finally. It got it. Because when you're on set, everything's perfect. You don't got to pay bills. You don't got to deal with the kids. They go off to school. Your wife goes to another dressing room, and then you go home at night. Yeah. And what happens is these people think that they get on the set and we fell in love. Now we're having kids. I go, wait, no, you're not stable enough to have kids.
Tom Cruise is on a set somewhere in the world. I'm sure he's a wonderful guy, and he tries to be the best dad he can. But when you're not there, and that kid's going to school every day, and you have to have a stable home for these.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're traveling like that. By the way, I don't think these guys know. Do you want to tell who played your daughter on the Bill Engvall show? Do you guys know?
I know.
Oh yeah, we gave Jennifer Lawrence her first job.
Did you know that, Mulligan?
No, but I got to tell you,
because I went to the party, the rap party. And you were introducing me to the whole people. It was like, oh, this is Jennifer Lawrence. And I was like, whatever. And then like a year later, I saw a movie and I was like, hey.
When we signed her, I looked at one of the producers and I said, we're going to be writing the episode where she goes off to college pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she just had, I hate this word in this context, but she had it. I mean,
Yeah.
there was just
Oh, I
something
believe
special.
it.
But Kate, to get back to your question, one of the hardest things I think, especially for comedians, is because our family is a part of the show. I mean, whether they're there physically or not, you're talking about them. So like my kids people watched my kids grow up.
Yeah.
You know, they knew about Travis and his IG Joes and, you know, my daughter wearing underwear that I thought was too small.
Yeah.
You know, they grow up with it, and it's got to be, you know, I tell you what might be a fun show one time is to let the kids do this, to say, hey, what was your dad like? What did he, you know, what was the one thing you would change? Because I remember one day my daughter came home from high school and she goes, okay, that's enough. And I said, what are you talking about? And she goes, I was walking down the hallway at high school and some kid who I didn't even know walked up to me and said, hey, heard your dad talking about your underwear. And I was like, she was in high school. And I thought, this, you know, that they have to deal with that. And like she said, one day they were in PE and there's a guy sitting across from her on the floor with a Bill Engvall t-shirt on, which just, you know, for a high school girl is just like, no. But it would be an interesting point of view to see what the kids have to say about it.
Yeah.
I would have been very alarmed if I went to school and somebody had a t-shirt of my father.
Yeah.
Hannah's already told me, she's like, she goes, hey, those are my stories. You can't tell them.
Oh, that happened.
I tell the bit about her,
right?
Yeah. She's come on and go like, hey, that's about me. You can't do that.
Did you say, do you want to eat?
Yeah.
Do you like the food on the table?
Because what's your relationship with food?
Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, you know, but I will say this too, and this there is not a more rewarding job than being a parent. Like my son just got married and I got to officiate the ceremony and, you know, it was just the full circle. And now we're getting ready to head up to Denver because we're going to have a grandson. Oh. And it's just all the hell you go through. It gets paid back because, you know, you just there. And you guys all know this. There's time, like, especially when they're little, there's times when they're sound asleep and you go, there is nothing better on this planet right now. And then there's the times you go, I could put a gun in my mouth right now.
Yep.
You know, but I look back on how my kids grew up and yeah, I made my mistakes and stuff, but it was, I look back now at pictures of them when they were young and I remember somebody telling me one time when Emily was wasn't even born yet. And a guy said, my wife was due like in 2 months. And this guy said, he goes, enjoy every moment because it goes by so fast. And I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. Next thing I know, she's driving a car. You know, it's like you just go, wow, it does go by so fast.
It's funny. Trisha Jean says, facts. I have learned there are reasons some species eat their young.
Yeah.
I also love Troy's comment. We had Troy's comment who goes, it took 2 decades, but my dad finally apologized for not letting me miss a day of school to attend the 1999 Ryder Cup.
Wow, that was strict. Troy. That was strict.
If you guys have questions for Bill, please just write them.
We do have one. Was it hard for any of you growing up when you realized your parents weren't perfect?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think there was a point in my life. I thought my dad hung the moon. I mean, literally. But when I was finally old enough and I realized that he was human and made mistakes, it was like, well, where do I go from here? And that's why it kind of harkens back to that. You got to understand that they're humans and that they're going to make mistakes. But I'll tell you a funny story. At least it's funny to me. This shows you where I kind of had my dad on the pedestal. We lived in Arizona, and Dad and I went turkey hunting one time. And we were up in the woods, and for 7 days, we didn't see a feather. And so the last day, we're driving out of the woods on this little lumberjack road, and these 2 turkeys ran across the road in front of us. And my dad slammed on the brakes, jumped out, grabbed his rifle, shot, and the bird dropped. And I was like, wow. And we walked over to the turkey, and the turkey wasn't quite dead yet, so my dad didn't want to suffer, so he shot it in the head with a .22 pistol. When we cleaned that bird, that hole in his head was the only hole in that bird. And instead of telling me the truth, which was turkeys are very high strung and it probably the bullet hit a tree and gave it a heart attack, he looked at me and he said, just so you'll know, I didn't want to ruin the meat, so I put the second bullet through the original hole. And I was like, what?
Genius. That's genius.
That's pretty fantastic.
Now you'll probably get some letters going, oh, he hunts. The point was,
how come turkeys don't have the right to live?
Yeah. But and maybe, Jamie, you maybe have done this. Like my dad and I could be playing one-on-one basketball. I could be ahead 19-0. All he'd have to do is make one shot, and I was done. He'd be like, oh my God, did you see that? That was like NBA. Did you see that shot, Bill? That was nothing but net. And then I'd get mad and I'd start trying to shoot it harder and he'd beat me 21-20. Just because he was. I love that. There's a thing I call, and Jason and Jamie, you might get, there's a thing I call, like they have the Randy Moss, you got mossed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. This is called you got dadded. And so we were here at the house one New Year's Eve, and my son-in-law, who was fairly new to the family, with my daughter was here, and we had some other friends here, and we were downstairs playing pool. We're drinking beers. And so it was me and my friend against my son-in-law and another friend of ours. And I had the last shot on the 8-ball. But to make this shot, I had to bounce the cue ball off 3 rails and then have it kiss the 8-ball into the pocket. And I had to shoot it behind my back. And I was like, I don't know, Dixon, what do you think? This buddy goes, just go ahead and make it. And I put the cue behind my back and I shot it, hit 3 rails and knocked the 8-ball in. My son-in-law was so pissed. He ran upstairs and he went upstairs and I came up and I said, dude, you just got dadded. Dad always wins.
And still, I did a puzzle game with him. We were at CPK yesterday and they have the little puzzle thing with the crayons or whatever.
Right.
We're doing like the connect the square game or whatever. And I'm killing her. I'm absolutely. Yeah. I'm not deliberately, but I'm playing the game, and she is melting down. And so finally, I'm like, well, if you want me to, I will let you win. If that's what you want, I will do it. It won't hurt me at all, but it won't help you.
You're not going to feel good.
Straight up. One day you'll beat me. It's not today. I'm going to destroy you. Almost flipped the table over and she was like, ah! The other people in the restaurant were like, hey, I go, all right, game's over or whatever. And she wouldn't. She melted down.
She got dadded.
What was the answer? Should I have sneakily let her win?
No.
I don't
think so. And that goes back to what you said, Jamie. If kids, the problem is we don't let kids lose. Like when I grew up playing sports, if you lost, you lost. There was no participation trophy. There was no ribbon. It's like, hey, you got beat by a better team. Yeah. Nowadays, these kids, we don't let them lose. And then when they get into real life and stuff doesn't go their way, they freak because they don't know what it's like to lose.
That's why they can't even interview. None of them can interview. They're like the worst interviewers on earth. And people are shocked. These people are coming in and you're like, you have no interview skills whatsoever. No human, because they're only on social media. Each other, so they don't know how to make eye contact and shake a hand. I know.
Okay, I'm going to show you I'm writing this bit right now about technology and how I'm just not technologically. I hate texting. Yeah. I went for 3 years not knowing that IDK meant I don't know. I thought it was idiot. So I would text my daughter and I say, hey, when are you coming home? She goes, oh, I don't know, IDK. Or she goes, IDK. And I go, idiot? Why are you calling me an idiot?
That's funny.
And then finally someone cued me in and goes, I don't know. And I wish I'd have known that before I took her out of the will. But,
But Gail's been traveling. It's not that great of a will anyway.
Yeah, no.
And at least now when she asks, hey, when am I getting my inheritance? It's a simple answer. It's like, you are not.
Yeah.
IDK.
There it is.
No, actually, it would be WTF IDK.
But the social media, we talk about it all the time. I do think eventually people it's so funny because you do what you love, right? But I don't love social media at all, but you kind of have to do it, or
it's the evil in our business. I hate, like, when I go to do a concert now, they call me and they go, the social media person, can you do a video saying, hey, I'm coming to, and I have 1.5 million viewers. 8 of them live where I'm going.
Right.
Why? But you know what I hope, Jamie, I say this with all my heart, because I know it's never going to happen. I just kind of hope people get tired of social media, and they move on to something else. Because, it's like Twitter is just angry people. And, it's like, this is what I love. I could write the most eloquent post and post it, and someone will go, there is THERE, not T. It's like, oh my God, that's what you took out of this?
I posted something about this a while ago about my daughter getting her ear pierced or something, and like the comments were like,
"Oh,
you got lit up on that."
Some people were like, "You should. What are you doing there? She could lose her ear." I'm like, "Dude, shut the blank." Sometimes I would get kind of drawn in and be like, thank you so much.
The worst thing you can do is respond. I've learned that.
The worst. I don't respond at all anymore now.
It's funny.
Sometimes I'll just delete the comments so that they don't.
That's what I do now. I just go, never mind.
It's funny. My hope is that social media is not going to be cool because, for example, I got off of Facebook because my parents, for whatever reason, are like Facebook heavy.
I wondered why you didn't have it. I was like,
get it. I can't. And my aunts and uncles, and I was like, I can't. My mother thinks that like her job is to hit the, like, is it a thumbs up still? The like. Yeah. And it's become a joke with my husband's family. They're like, wow, Lorraine already liked it. Somebody will have just posted a picture. They're like, Lorraine liked it.
I liked it. First like. So I got first like.
I keep thinking like, so the only thing I really do is Instagram. And I'm doing that very sparingly now. But I hope, because I do Instagram, my kids are going to be like, I don't want to do Instagram. Like, I'm hoping that I'm going to make it so uncool that they're going to be like, what's cool? We're going to be like, we're going to rage against the machine. We're going to write each other letters. Like, that's what I hope happens.
That would be awesome.
That's funny.
Wouldn't it? Like, go back to like writing notes in class. That's what
maybe that's what it will be. Maybe, godly from your mouth to God's ears. Because I just don't know where, nobody can converse anymore. It's like everything has to be in 122 figures or whatever. And, and the other thing is like, there's Zoom, Zoom is like, nobody ever even heard of it till COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And, and even like that, because there's just too many people. Like one day Gail was doing a Zoom call with her sister. I came in and I guess her sister, somehow you can do it where they can't see you. And so I walked in and Gail's gone. I said, oh, that was your sister. Did she gripe about her life for the last 4 hours and want some money? She's still on the Zoom.
I need to know how you got out of that. How do you speak anymore?
Yeah, no. It was but that's all right, because this girl drives me nuts anyway.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's like I'll tell you, there's an interesting thing. How family deals with what we do. Like my mother is like, I remember taking this way, my mom, she'll love her to death, but she's crazy as a loon. So I was doing a show in Austin and I brought him to the show, and Gail said, you should stay at your mom's house. I go, there's a perfectly good hotel right next to the theater. She goes, no, you need to stay with her for a night.
No.
So I get her in her seats and I go backstage. She keeps coming backstage. And I go, Mom, what are you doing? She goes, well, you're on the show and I'm your mother. So, I figured it'd be okay. I go, Mom, the show's getting ready to start. You need to be in your seat. And so the show goes off and we drive back to my mom's house. And it was one of those leave it to Beaver moments. She said, are you hungry, honey? And I said, yeah, I didn't eat any dinner before I did the show. And she made me one of those great mom sandwiches, that has everything on it.
Oh, yeah.
And a glass of milk. And we were sitting there and she goes, honey, those people just love you to death. And I said, yeah, they're very sweet. And she goes, and they love me too. Because her reasoning was, I gave birth to you, so why wouldn't they love me too?
I mean, she's kind of right in a way.
Yeah.
You know, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Troy took, he goes, here's your signed letter.
Yeah. Yeah, it is amazing when I look back, like my stepmother, she's passed on now, God bless her heart, but she was one of the most passive aggressive people I've ever met in my life. I remember I would gone home to visit them, and we had just done Blue Collar and the first one, and so we're at breakfast, and I hadn't even had a sip of coffee. And my stepmother goes, I just don't understand how you can afford all that cocaine. I said, what? And I said, well, Mom, I don't afford it. It's usually free. And she was like, I don't do cocaine. I don't even know where that came from. I guess she just, People magazine talked about somebody doing coke. So everybody in show business does coke.
Crazy.
You gotta love it. I
mean, you do. You kind of got to love the innocence of it.
Yeah.
Because this is like that. It goes back to that. This is just a world that nobody can even fathom. I mean, it wasn't until Here's Your Sign came out that I even thought you could make money at it. I didn't know you could make a living at this.
Yeah.
And then you throw in gold records and platinum records and Grammy nominations and stuff. It was just like, there was times I find myself sitting in a chair just going, this is unreal.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody was, what's in the dad sandwich? Okay. The dad sandwich is like whatever meat, cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, onions on fresh bread, white bread, and a glass of milk. Oh my God, it's the best.
I'll tell you what,
hold on 1 second. Because Narcolepsy is one of our funniest fans who he rips with jokes. What he's saying is, you mentioned cocaine, and then he said,
"That's what's in
the dad."
So that's
making a comment.
Okay, Narcolepsy, you're just a little too hip for this room.
The dad sandwich, of course.
I will tell you.
I would argue it's the complete opposite. If anything, it would be like a gummy or a downer. A downer for a dad sandwich. I don't want to come back up. I want.
Okay, so here's a question for all of you. You commit some heinous crime, and you're on death row
again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, Jamie.
Okay.
What is your last meal?
And why is it an in and out double?
It's a very long meal.
Okay, I'll give you mine would be
chicken
fried steak, mashed potatoes with cream gravy, green beans, and a slice of apple pie.
But you can't leave that up to the correctional facility. Where do you get that from? Where do you specifically ask for it from? Like, is there a place?
They definitely have chicken fried steak in prison, please. That's
I'm saying, but you don't want them to cook
the magical one. It's his.
No. You have somebody. They'll come. They'll go get it.
That's what I'm saying.
They're not cooking it up.
Yeah.
I have a question before I answer, and how am I being executed? Because I don't want to have a full heavy meal. If
it doesn't matter, you're going to be dead.
You're being executed by your girls.
I want to be uncomfortable for. I don't want.
Your girls are going to talk you to death.
Yeah. Oh.
It's no injection. You're not really going to know about it. It's just going to happen to you. So where do you get your food, and what is it, Caleb?
Yeah. You guys are way overthinking this.
Yeah.
I have to do this every week, Bill. Every week.
Actually, I think a great way for Jamie to die would just they would bring in a little girl that would just do this until he died. Why?
Because, and then I would finally run out of Aaron's stuff.
Yep.
Because it wasn't my fault. That's
I think I have mine. I would do a surf and turf.
Okay.
I would do a surf and turf with an Oreo cheesecake.
Nice.
I might.
Would it be crab or lobster or shrimp?
Yeah.
Lobster for sure, and maybe a side of grilled shrimp with it.
Ooh,
and
nice.
A nice rare steak.
I'd probably get an endangered species, like a
baby seal or something.
Bengal tiger. Somebody's going with me. I'm not going by myself. But I've already done a heinous crime, so people are going to be like really endangered. I go, did you see the other heinous crime I did? This is nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah,
you could throw him a fastball, Kaler.
They're delicious. I don't know what to tell you.
You could throw him a fastball and then do the rare blowfish that'll kill you after you eat it, and then bam, you done the job for them.
Take away the pleasure of that they have to.
All right, so Kate, what would yours be?
Mine would be the crispy rice spicy tuna from Katsuya and a McDonald's Coke, a large McDonald's Coke. That's it. Boom. Done.
Sometimes
I'm done.
Coke really hit. Although that's going to keep. Yeah, I mean, you're probably not going to sleep anyway. But it depends. I can't have that Coke too late in the afternoon, or I can't sleep. And I really want to get a good night's sleep before I get
I don't know that anyone sleeps the night before they're executed.
I would say nobody sleeps a wink. No.
Yeah.
No.
It's pretty dark to think about.
You would have done a really if you would have had to do a really heinous crime, because I always say the guy that if you arrest a bunch of people, the one dude who's sleeping soundly in the prison cell, that's the guilty one. Have you ever heard that before?
No.
Like it's the guy who knows he did it. He's like, yeah, I'm supposed to be in here. Like that's the guy who they go, it's sound asleep in prison.
My high school bully is on death row. It's a very surreal for me. Like he's
Your
legitimate.
High school bully?
My high school bully, the guy that used to beat me up every day.
It's true. This is true.
He's on death row?
He's on death row. He shot 2 cops. And so like I tried to tell the teachers back then, I said, look, the guy ripped my limited edition Ghostbusters shirt. He's trouble. And nobody listened to me. And then he shot cops.
See there?
You're trying to save people's lives, brother.
I tried.
Nobody listens to you.
Well, he wouldn't get ready for gym class and he would hide, and then I would tell on him, and then he would just beat the living shit out of
I mean,
him.
to be fair, you're a snitch, and you kind of got what you asked for.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jamie, I got a question for you. Your girls are how 7?
7 and 9.
Have you or your wife started having to have the talk?
Yes. Actually,
were you involved in it?
I'm not even sure how deep I can go into this because it's so LA and I had nothing to do with it. I have girls, so
they have therapists now, is what you're saying?
Great way. People were like, hey, how do you feel about having girls? And I was always like, it's really great because I don't have to get involved in any of that stuff. It'll be my wife's. And you're saying, no, I'm going to be involved?
You're going to be involved.
Oh, good gosh. So here's what happens. One of the other moms put together a kind of educational speech. And it was, and at first I was kind of like, this is terrible. But then apparently I wasn't there. It was about it wasn't really a sex talk. It was more about your body and the
right.
change.
Yeah. At that age, your bodies are,
Yeah.
And apparently it was absolutely amazing. And he did it for all like 5 of the little girls. They were all friends. A couple of them already apparently knew what was going on. But they said it was really informational about like, the world and social media and your body. And so yes, we're kind of on that way, but no, I haven't been involved whatsoever yet. And she's 9. And you see some of the girls in like the next grade or 2, you're like, oh, stuff's happening here.
When these the girls at my daughter's high school, they used to call them escahos because they were California girls, but they would wear Ugg boots.
Oh,
yeah. That's the greatest term ever.
Awesome.
And these little short skirts. It was like,
yeah,
it's.
Oh, Bill, did you?
How old are your kids, Kate?
Hang on, Bill. 1 sec. Big Flank has a comment. Bill's whole routine about pads goes through my head whenever my wife talks about that.
That's what I mean when you're going to have to be involved. When all of a sudden you got to go to the store and buy pads.
Oh, I've bought those. Oh, you mean, but for my kids?
Yeah. That's when it gets. So, okay, your kids are how old?
I've got 2 boys. I've got a 7-year-old and an almost 5-year-old. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Boys are. You know what? Boys can be almost tougher because boys discover Mr. Willie way earlier than girls.
Somebody was surprised to hear that erections. Somebody was like, "Wait, I was like, my newborn had erect. Like that
happens.
That's just I mean, it's not triggered by anything other than nature. It's not like like my newborn was like, wow, look at them titty. Like what I mean?
But it doesn't happen at 7 or 8, right?
Yes.
Oh no! Once they discover the hand never leaves.
I told my son one day, son, you're going to wear it out.
Yeah.
Well, I have a bit that like
it has a warranty on it. You got to.
I have a bit that when my twins discovered it was like dueling banjos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, but the like when I was a kid, if you wanted to, have some private time, you had to like go out in the woods and find a magazine that had been buried in the woods by somebody in a fort years before you. Now kids are doing homework on a computer that is literally 2 clicks away from the most graphic stuff you've ever like that. I don't even want that in my head.
I walked in on my son one time and he had it pulled up on his computer screen. And I walked in and he was trying to click it off and you just can't click them off.
No.
There's different windows. And
this
was one of the moments as a dad, I felt like I handled it right. I just said, hey, I get it. When I was your age, we had Penthouse, we had Playboy. I go, this is just an electronic thing. But what you need to know is this is not really how women act. Rarely do you find a woman that just walks into a Walmart, and I think while I'm here,
Well, actually, sometimes
and he understood. He got it.
Like when you're dating, they do. Sure, some do when you're dating, but after you're married with kids, no,
never happens.
None.
We took our son, our 6-year-old, to free comic book day, and they gave him a Batman comic, and in it, 2 of the women characters were kissing in the thing, and we keep finding him just randomly turn to that page.
Yeah, listen.
And he goes to me, Dad, I don't know why, but I really like this. And I'm like, oh, Daddy does too. Don't tell Mom.
Yeah. Do me a favor and dog ear that page.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever walk in on your parents?
I will tell you, I did not walk in on them. There was a Christmas where I was so excited. I think I was probably 12, and I heard it happening. I was supposed to be asleep already, and I heard it happening. And I remember feeling.
Did you know what it was?
Yes, I was 12, and I remember feeling so betrayed because in my head it meant they were trying to have another baby. It just and like the neck, because I did not understand that
pleasure at that point. It was actually, it had a purpose.
Yes, and so then remember feeling so betrayed, and it wasn't until years later. And my parents' relationship never really made much sense to me because my mom, she just wasn't that. She's not that nice to him. Right. And what I will say is, it wasn't until my dad got diagnosed with prostate cancer, and she suddenly was talking to me like she's my friend, and I'm like, no, please don't. But okay, I'm here for you. But she was like, yeah, we had the greatest sexual life, and it's just gone. And I was like, oh, like But it suddenly, I was actually so grateful because I'm like, oh, that's why y'all worked, because there was something I wasn't seeing that was working with you too. Okay. She was like, we did it all the time. I was like, nope, we're good. We're good.
No, we're good. We're good.
Bill, did your kids ever walk in on you?
Oh, yeah. There was one time our son was standing at the side of the bed and we didn't realize he'd come in the room.
How old? He was 22.
No. He was old. He was probably 5, 6.
Yeah.
And luckily we were under the covers, but there was one, I'll tell you a funny story. So one time I came off the road and this urge just wasn't going to go away. It was in the middle of the day. I'd flown in and, Emily, our daughter, was in the backyard playing on the swing set. And I was like, come on, Gail, let's do it. She goes, no, she's just right out there in the backyard. I go, look, I can see the swing set. If she starts coming in, we'll stop and deal with whatever she needs. So I finally talked her into it. And I see Emily, I go, she's coming in. So now I had just gotten out. You remember, I got home. It's probably lunchtime. And, Emily walks in. She said something. I said, okay, yeah, we'll go on out and you play on the swings again. Well, she goes out in the backyard and we get into it again. And we got to that point where there was no stopping without causing severe physical bodily harm. And literally, we were having sex. I saw the door handle turn and Gail did like this backflip over the end of the bed and under the covers. And I grabbed a robe, and Emily walked in. She goes, "What are you guys doing?" And I said, well, Mom was just going to take a nap, and I was going to take a shower. And she goes, "Wait, so Mom was going to take a nap, and you're taking a shower in the middle of the day?" And I was like, "We are so busted."
She like takes out a notebook. Let me get this straight.
Let me say,
Hold on a second.
none of this makes, but that we and I think it's looking back, it's funny now, but at the time you're like, wow, that was really close.
That's funny.
That was close to scarring them for the rest of their life.
My parents had like Sunday naps, and they'd be like, "We're upstairs having a nap." And I was like, whatever. And you could hear, like, we had old beds.
Yeah.
Like Forrest Gump.
We had a brass bed, and it made the same noise.
My wife and I always tell our oldest that he needs to watch TV because Mom and Dad need to talk about finances. And one time he came in and he's like, "Why are you guys always not naked when you talk about finances?"
Well, we need to get naked and then talk about we like to boil everything down and then get into the numbers.
We realize we can't afford clothes anymore. That's what's going on here.
All right, so Jason, I haven't heard from Jamie or Kate about whether they got walked in on yet.
Oh, you know what? We very recently actually, we had just put our son to bed, and he had been having a thing where he was waking up and he was really excited to make breakfast. Unfortunately, breakfast was just drinkable yogurt and strawberries directly in it. But he, for whatever reason, had fallen asleep. We switched it up. We were in a different room than our own bedroom. And I joked to my husband, I'm like, can you imagine if Neil fell asleep and then thought it was the morning? And sure enough, we finished our business and I walked out and my son was standing in the kitchen like a ghost child, just making breakfast. But it was 8:45 at night. And he's like, "It's still dark, but it's morning." And I'm like, "Nope, you woke up." And I was like, what did you just hear? Huh? What did you? He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Did you hear anything funny?" And he's like, "I don't know. No." And I was like, "Okay, I think we're safe." But wow, I was very surprised to see him there. It was like a horror film. Like the kids up the hallway. You're like, "What are you doing here?"
No, not busted yet.
Not yet.
No, doors locked. We're Irish Catholics, so we throw a hole in a sheet, I guess. I don't know. No.
Do you sleep with your doors shut or open?
Open.
So you don't think you're going to figure out that when the door's shut and locked, that something's going on?
Yeah, they definitely. What's funny, Bill? That's absolutely true.
Because we always kept our door open, no matter what.
Well, here's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start keeping the door locked all the time, and that way, I'll normalize it.
Yeah,
because she gets up, she'll be like, "What's happening in there?" "Nothing." "Can I come in?" "No." "Why not?" And you're like, Mommy's taking a nap and I'm jumping in the shower. Apparently, that's a very common thing for people to do.
Yeah. I mean, it works. It's very generic, but it works.
Taking a nap, Daddy's taking a shower, and the door's locked.
Carl Nelson just solved all the problems of the world. Inside, locking the door and a waterbed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There it is.
10 years ago, I could have done a waterbed, but they just don't do your back any good.
No,
I got to tell you, it's so funny you mentioned waterbed because I remember working the Jokers in Tulsa, Oklahoma, this comedy club. It was back in the 80s. And right next to it, the comedy club, was a hot shot waterbed store. And I used to be in between shows and look in the window and go, "Oh, if I could just have a waterbed with a mirrored headboard, that would be so awesome." And now I look at it and I go, "Why don't you throw in the conversion van and some pot?"
I had a waterbed in college, king size waterbed at Boston University.
Nothing about this surprises me.
And I had a leopard skin, but they were my brothers.
Yes.
I had inherited. What's funny? I wish I had photos. I don't think I have a photo of it anywhere, but I had a king size waterbed that had a heater and everything. And then I think it was baffle-less.
That was the original ones. I
had no baffles, so it was motion in the ocean. And
Yeah, go back to the leopard. I'm more interested in the
I
leopard.
don't know. That was my brother's. He was.
Oh yeah, it was your brother's. Yeah, you didn't buy that.
But it was from our house. It had been in the basement, and so my senior year in college, I was like, "I'm taking this with me," and I took it down to Boston and put the frame together, and then filled the waterbed. And my roommates were rolling, laughing, and I was like, "You."
Did you also have a disco ball? Be honest. Did you also have a disco ball? No.
I wish I did. I didn't have a disco ball. And our house, we had an apartment in the back bay of Boston on Com Ave, and it was right above White Mountain Creamery, which that was the first place where they started smashing the ice cream and doing the mixing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they had melted chocolate that they would dip the thing in. And we were right above it. Our apartment smelled like melted chocolate all day, every day for the entire year. And one of the roommates worked at a video store. He's a director now, which is pretty funny. And he would come home. You'd have to bring like the machine and like 12 videos.
Right.
And then we'd run down to White Mountain Creamery and come back. Yeah.
Why do I get the feeling that Jamie, you were kind of like Quagmire?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
I got some girls like, senior
year, and I played on the ultimate frisbee team that year.
Oh yeah, you were Quagmire. Yeah.
Were you also a guy that brought your guitar to parties, Jamie?
Oh yeah.
No, I didn't play guitar then. I didn't play in college. I learned in the Navy. I got paired up with this guy in my stateroom, Brent Nitre, who was a crazy, phenomenal guitarist. He goes, "Bring a guitar, I'll teach you." And so when I went overseas for that 6-month cruise to like Indian Ocean and Australia and Hong Kong, I brought a guitar, and he was the first guy I learned guitar in the Navy. That's what I took from the Navy was the guitar.
One of my favorite Jamie Kaler lines is, "Oh, do you play guitar? Yeah, I'm going to sing you a song in the morning."
That is so good.
I love that bit.
I'm so honored that you remember that.
I'm going to play.
You forgot that, didn't you, Kaler?
I'm going to play a song for you in the morning.
In the morning.
Because I like to get paid in advance. It's so funny. I haven't heard that joke in so long, Bill.
Oh my
That
God,
was what I always
now I get
waited for
canceled.
that.
Now they'd be like, "Oh, you're such a misogynist, James. What's happened?"
Jamie, I have to know what was more fun for you, docking during the Navy or all of college? I got to imagine it was being portside in the Navy when you pull in and you're
definitely
got a couple hours. I got my Navy whites on.
I wasn't that guy. I didn't love. They don't run to strip clubs.
It's not about you being that guy. It's about women loving that white suit.
Well, I will tell you, Australia in my dress whites was pretty good. That was a pretty good. Yeah. When I was stationed in San Diego, I was in my dress whites walking around San Diego, and that's another thing about the era, Bill. You talk about how everything is so hateful nowadays. Nowadays they tell guys, "Don't wear your uniform. You're a target." Back then, Top Gun had just come out. Like, we had great pride in this country. And even though we had differences, we were unified. We were the United States. I feel like so much more than nowadays, where I'm like, really, I don't know what's happening, man. People are at each other so much that it's so.
Well, I read a great book, and I highly recommend it to your listeners. It's called The 5 Agreements. And you can read it in one night. It's about this guy who went back and studied the Aztec religions and how and one of the sections of this book which was so helpful to me. And I think for anybody, when people say something bad about you, it has nothing to do with you.
That's right.
It's about them. And he said, it's a hard concept because we're so thin skinned anymore. But he said, just remember, he said, there's people that are going to say things to you, but it has nothing to do with you. It's just them dealing with their own issues. And I agree with you. I think that there was a time, not to sound dark on this, but I was always the guy that said, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. We'll get through this. We'll be okay. And now I'm like, I don't know that we are.
I don't know.
I don't know what the future is. I hope it's better than this. But it used to be that we could have disagreements and we went on our way. Now it's like, well, you don't agree with me, I'll kill you. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's like, and I think that we've become this, when I was doing my son's wedding, I brought this up. I said that we've become this throwaway generation. I preface this by saying that it really makes me happy that y'all are getting married, because when you decide to become married, you're committing to something. people don't want to commit to anything anymore. Whether it's, your cell phone breaks, oh, get a new one. Your car breaks, get a new one. Don't fix it. Your marriage breaks, get a new one. And, and I watch these, and I don't know these people at all. This is just my personal, Gail gets people and us, and I see these people that are married 5 times. And, it's like, who's Jennifer Garner's now getting her 6th wedding or 5th wedding. And it's like, for me, my view would be like, wait a minute, I get one mistake. I get maybe one marriage didn't work out. But at 5, maybe it's not them.
Maybe it's you. I say that all the time, dude. I'm like, yeah.
It's like that old joke where they say 1 in every 3 people is ugly, and have somebody, they look to your left. If it's not them, look to your right. If it's not them, it's you.
It's you.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
right. So I don't know, and I don't want to be, Danny Downer. I love this country, and I love where we live, and I love the opportunities that I've been given. But
you're right.
Wow, we really need to reset the button.
It's just a hard time. I feel like it's like, especially raising little kids at this point, because
that's where you really start to see
the peril of it all. Yeah, you're because we're trying to keep everything the best. And it's funny because you talked about that. Like my daughter today in the car, we had this long conversation on the drive back, and she was just pummeling me with questions. And then she started talking about bad words and people saying bad words, and I kind of said exactly what you just said, because I totally believe that. When somebody strikes out at you, it's not about you.
No,
it's about it's like the bully, Jason's bully, or I had a bully in high school. And it's like, then you look back and you're like, yeah, it's just human nature, because they're striking out because they are being bullied.
Well, it's them dealing with their insecurities. Yeah. And, that has to be done on a personal level. Nobody can really help you with that. You've got to you either get it or you don't. And, I hope with all my heart that at some point we can figure it out. But boy, that pendulum's been stuck for a long time, and I don't see it coming back down. And so, and what's weird about it is, I find myself on guard, like, not because I think I'm going to do something bad, but what's the crazy guy next to me going to do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at these people getting in fights on airplanes. It's like, what? Yeah. What has happened?
Walking up and hitting the flight attendant. You're like,
yeah. It's like, it's like, and I like last night was a prime example. I'm so glad that the TV has finally figured this out. I don't know if you were watching the Niner LA game, but a guy ran out on the field and they wouldn't show him. And I was like, that's the thing. We need to stop giving publicity to these people that do stupid, crazy stuff. Just like, I'm a big fan of, like, when people commit, you just call them the defendant. It's you never you don't give them that, like, because I think some people watch stuff like that. Like you see these people that go shoot up schools, and you hear the news people going, "This is the worst body count ever," and there's somebody who's a little strung sitting in his house going, I could beat that.
I know. It's a competition.
Quit giving them the publicity, and just, like, and again, I'm going to sound like old fuddy-duddy here, but when I was a kid, we had wackos.
Yeah.
We had the idiot, but we knew who they were. Mm-hmm. And I think it also dovetails into the whole social media thing and computer. I am so glad my kids are grown up, because little kids, y'all's kids' age, they don't understand who that person might be. And you don't want them to grow up scared to look at anybody, but
right.
When a guy's saying, hey, I'll fly you out here to Ohio, and, this is not just some dude being nice. I would have been such a horrible parent with a computer, because I don't understand it. And there's no consequence, and people can say, like, bullying, talking about Jason, talking about his bullying. It used to be you only got bullied at school. Now these kids are bullied 24 hours a day, because they all got Instagram, they got social media and all this stuff, and it just doesn't stop. And I think that there's got to be, I think one of the things I'd love to see is some government body that would start to regulate the internet. It's still the Wild West. I mean, anything, I tried to find, I was searching for something I needed, and I clicked on it, and next thing I know, I'm getting 30 emails from companies that sell a product that's similar to this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did they get this so quick?
Yeah.
I've told this before on here, but I knew that my wife wanted me to propose because all of my targeted ads on my Facebook turned to wedding rings and engagement rings.
Really?
And
Yep.
that's because she had been looking them up.
She had been looking them up, and she knew if she looked them up, when I got back on the laptop, it would switch over, and they were there.
Interesting. By the
And
way,
you know what? That's the nicest word for that. I'm legitimately freaked out. You could say interesting, but I'm scared, Jason. That is
Oh,
scary.
What happened? Bam, twins.
Yeah.
we have and I highly recommend you get rid of them if you have them. There's Alexa.
Oh, don't have it. I don't have it.
Gail and I were in bed one night.
Yep.
We were in bed one night and we were talking about something. She, I think, it was around Thanksgiving. And she said, I think I'm going to bake a pie, but I need to get some sugar. And literally 30 seconds later, the Alexa thing goes, would you like me to put sugar on your shopping list? And I was like, that's unplugged.
Did Alexa start sending you stuff to help Gail nap and help you shower? Was it like,
yeah,
here's a pillow you might like. Here's some bath salts for you.
Well, and here was the weird thing. I got a VIP card to someplace called Sugars. I don't know what that is, but
I have a feeling your son would like to go.
On Wednesdays, Bill. A fantastic buffet on Wednesdays.
You know, I tell you, one of my favorite Foxworthy stories. This kind of talking about it. Foxworthy telling me that he and our manager JP were in Houston, and Jeff had just done the show, sold out theater, you know. And JP said, "Come on, we're going to go to this topless bar." And Jeff goes, "Nah." He goes, "I don't want to go in there because I'm going to get recognized, and that's not going to be good." And JP's like, "Oh, get over yourself. No one's going to recognize you in a topless bar." They walk in the front door, and the bouncer goes, "Mr. Foxworthy, good to have you here." It's like, yeah, those fun days are gone now for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I just saw you say that, and my daughter said she wanted to be famous. That's the thing. The kids nowadays, she wanted to be famous, and I go, be careful what you wish for, because what you just said about Foxworthy. I went golfing the other day. Of course, I peed in the shrubs, right, Bill? You can't help it.
Right,
you pee.
right.
You do. Justin Bieber goes golfing. He pees on a tree, and of course, the photos everywhere.
Right.
But he's not, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, can you believe what this young man did to this golf course?" Like, lit him up for peeing on a golf course,
right
next to a tree.
I'll tell you, my recognized story was I was doing a show. And Joseph, please don't let your son be a YouTuber, please.
Yeah.
For the love of God, stop it.
Jobo.
So I was in Colorado Springs, and Colorado had just legalized pot. And so I flew in, I got a rental car to go to the theater. And I thought, you know what? I got a couple hours. I'm going to stop by one of these pot shops.
Absolutely.
Just to see what. So I walk in, and the girl goes, "Oh my God, you're Bill Engvall." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well," she goes, "come on in the back." She goes, "I'm going to take you to the back room because otherwise people are going to see you. And I know you don't want that." So she walks me into the back room, which is another pot room. And I'm looking at some pot. And the guy next to me goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe Bill Engvall. I'm standing next to Bill Engvall." Literally 30 minutes later on my Twitter, it went ding. And the guy somehow took a picture of me looking at some herb and goes, "Just bought pot next to Bill Engvall."
Good times, man. Good times. That's terrible. Although I will tell you, from watching your act, my favorite recognition story is not that one. You have a bit about having a procedure done, and they know who you are. Do you know the procedure I'm speaking of? It happens right about the time you turn 50. And you had to clean out your system and then go in for a colonoscopy. And didn't the woman start talking to you or something? And when you were on the table with a tube up no?
Bill's
you have a big bit about going in for a colonoscopy.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites he does. It's
one of my
really good.
favorite bits. And
Bill's like,
I
"That's
know-
Foxworthy's bit. How dare you?"
Yeah,
goes, "Hey, you're Bill Engvall."
Yeah, there's been a couple of those times where it's just, I don't know if people, it doesn't sink in their heads to go, "Oh, maybe this might be a little private moment he's wanting to have." But one of my my daughter, when she was in college, slipped on the ice and broke her arm. So I was flying to do a show somewhere up in the Northwest, and I told Pat that we got to go to Tacoma. I got to get to my daughter. Somehow people find out at the airport that I'm flying in. Now this is like at 12 o'clock at night. I'm trying to get to the hospital, get to my daughter. And there's a family, not a family, like 6 adults, drunker than Cooter Brown. And they want me to sign their Jim Beam bottles. And I'm like, my daughter broke her arm. I need to get, they go, oh yeah. But before you go, would you sign? It's like, this is why. And I want to tell people, I go, it's not that we don't love seeing you, but understand the situation.
Yeah.
You know, it's there's times that we can sit and I'll talk for you for 10 minutes about what's going on in your life, but pick up on the fact that sometimes I might gotta go.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's
read the room. Read the room, brother.
Read the room. That's the word I was. Yeah,
That's
that's exactly what I was looking for.
They don't. They don't read the room.
No. Speaking of reading the room, we have kept Bill way over time.
Oh, look, the fun things are a way to go. Maybe that's actually Jamie's way of saying, well, the funny shit's kind of gone now. So
No, I didn't think that at all. Hey, do you want to have a closing? No, you know what I'm thinking? Nobody's home except for my 7-year-old daughter who needs to go to bed in the other room. That I have to go. Put to bed. My other daughter's at swim practice till 9 because you want to keep a 9-year-old at swim practice.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's
wild. Listen, guys, this is so great. I love seeing you all again. Jace, thank you for asking me.
I mean, we might make you come back more often than I think.
Listen, I'll be retired. I got nothing else going on. I have plenty of time.
Not only is this super funny, but honestly, it's super informative. Like, we're doing a parenting show, but we only have young kids. Like, we kind of need like your stories are like, actually, that's really helpful. That's a really helpful piece.
I hope, and I hope for anybody and for you guys too. And I say this with all due sincerity, I am by far was not the perfect parent, but we got through it. And I think the proof in the pudding is that when your kids grow up, and my thing was with my kids, like I go, I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care how much money you make or you don't make. All I ask is that you be a good person. Don't be a leech on society. You know, just be a good person. And if
don't
you
be
can,
your mom's sister.
Yeah, don't be your mom's sister. And if you can look at your kids in 10, 12 years and think that thought, then you're a success as a parent.
Dude, I love you so much.
Bill, I have to just real quick, at the risk of getting myself canceled. Are you familiar with the phrase silver fox?
Oh boy,
silver fox.
Yeah, it's like,
I know there was. Well, Charlie Rich was called the silver fox, but I don't think that's.
Anderson Cooper is a silver fox. All I'm saying, Bill, is.
Oh really? Oh well, thank you.
Silver fox, baby, silver fox.
Oh yeah, the silver's gotten a little more and more and more.
Getting saucy in the 8 o'clock.
I mean, listen. I just
I
had to put myself out there for cancellation as well. It's an equal opportunity cancellation here tonight.
Inappropriate gesture towards the guest, Mulligan.
And the worst thing a silver fox can do is reach for his ID and pull out his Medicare card. That'll kill a date in a heartbeat. Guys, I love you. Take care.
I love you, Bill. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Engvall. Oh, dude, that was
absolute best.
Now I got to figure out how to get out of this.
Yes,
no, we're going to get you out. See you later. Okay. He's back in and back out.
There we go.
Say goodbye a couple times. Hey, listen, I literally have
you have to go. We know.
Let's wrap this thing up.
He's the best.
That was one of the. We have to have him. He's the best. He's the best.
Can he be the fourth?
He should.
He should be.
I beg him. He'll come. He will come back.
He didn't even hesitate. He was all about it. It was like within seconds of when I sent the message, he was like, "Absolutely, send me the link."
He's in the list. Hey, really fun show tonight. We have a huge show. We're calling in. We're doing a morning radio show tomorrow.
Yeah, we're on Choice 102 tomorrow with Matt Lewis. Tonight's show was brought to you, and also the sponsor of our big show in Sayre, Pennsylvania, Dandy Mini Marts is our big sponsor, and we're going to hit them up while we're in town, while everybody's in town. And next Friday and next Saturday night, Sayre, Pennsylvania, there's still a few tickets left, not a ton, for Parents Lounge Live, me, Mulligan, Jamie, and you can get tickets at BradfordCountyMovies.com.
We just got the wine, and we got all of the merch coming in, the wine glasses. And
they come in tomorrow.
They come in tomorrow. We got Trevor coming. We got a bartender on stage. It's going to be a super crazy show. Anyway,
W-9s have been submitted.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this thing. Hey, thank you so much for such fun fans tonight, Jobo and Narcolepsy. I mean, super, super funny jokes tonight. And it was really fun.
This show.
A lot of people are huge fans of his. Thank you for sharing the show. If you get a chance, please go to iTunes, rate, review us, subscribe. Nobody ever likes things anymore. They like it, but they don't.
Lorraine likes it.
Come
Lorraine
to our
likes it.
Instagram at the Parents Lounge Show over there. Give us some love. We got some funny stuff that goes on over there.
It's pretty good. I don't have anything else. I love you guys. That was a super fun show tonight. I feel so much better about life than I did about 90 minutes ago. So awesome.
Truly.
Really cool.
Same.
That's it. We'll see you next time here in the Parents Lounge.
Good night, everybody.